Redditors, what is the horniest thing you've done and regret doing? Story 1. I was texting a girl I was interested in. I was at work, construction. She sent a few nudes out of the blue. On day 17 in camp, I went to the trailer with the shitters to rub one out. I entered a stall and started going to town. Someone a few stalls down started taking the loudest, nastiest dump I've ever heard. I persevere and bide my time. Finally, the dude finishes his bad dump that stank the whole trailer. I keep going, and about 20 seconds before I'm done, I lift the toilet lid to finish, only to see one of the fattest, longest intact dumps ever, like a shit boa. I close my eyes, squat a little, and think happy thoughts before blasting a load over the giant turd. It was terrible. Story 2. As a horny teen, I jerked off in the backyard in the tall grass. It turns out my neighbor's daughter was watching me from the window. I gave her an awkward nod and then walked away after. I have also stuck my dick in a vacuum cleaner hose. While it did feel good, I may have caused some permanent damage. Story 3. Once, I met a woman on the party line back in the day, and she said she looked like J-Lo. She ended up being a crackhead and smoking crack in her grandma's garage. I still tried to salvage the nud, and mid-F, someone knocked, and in walks a male crackhead who sat down and wanted to watch. I'm naked under the blanket on a mattress, laying on the garage floor, feeling very uncomfortable. He ends up leaving, and another woman crackhead shows up, trying to get away from someone who shows up and is trying to break into the garage. At this point, I'm covered in chocolate syrup because cracked out J-Lo is into it, and I'm an idiot. No nut. I went home sticky with chocolate all over me. Story 4. I was visiting relatives with my significant other and soul and staying with my aunt. Unfortunately, I caught a nasty case of the flu halfway through the trip, and we couldn't smash for weeks at this point. However, in my half-awake, flu-ridden, horny corpse of a shell, I vaguely recall crawling/being dragged by my significant other into my aunt's bathroom in the middle of the night so she could blow me while my aunt was asleep in the living room. Amazingly, my girlfriend never caught the flu. Story 5. I got a text from a woman I'd been talking to and had hooked up with a few times. This was around midnight, and she wanted me to come over for some fun. We were both 21-year-old students at the time, so she was living in a super sketchy student neighborhood about an hour away on the city's other side. A right-thinking person would have said no, but horny me wanted some action. I didn't have my car at uni then, so I threw on my coat and told her I'd be there as soon as possible. She knew I didn't know her exact house, so she told me to text her when I got on her street, and she'd come and grab me. I arrived, texted, no reply. She'd gone and fallen asleep. After about 15 minutes of trying to call and text her, I sent her one saying I guess she'd fallen asleep and I'd be walking home. Anyway, I mentioned this was a super sketchy neighborhood. On the way home, I got mugged and stabbed in my waist/hip and hand. Luckily, I didn't have my cards or much money on me, so all they got was my favorite wallet and like 15 pounds in cash, and my crappy phone that was due for renewal anyway. Story 6. I met my girlfriend in a park near the college at lunch, and we went at it. I was interrupted by a dog walker letting his dog sniff my taint. When I got back to college, I thought everyone was staring at me, and I believed for a moment that the dog walker had told someone, and word had gotten around at the gate, but everyone was freaking out about 9/11. Story 7. In 7th grade, I went to the dance with a girl. Since this was my first physical interaction with a woman, I creamed my pants while we cuddled. After that, I tried to act normal until I got home. Story 8. I was like 24 years old and still a virgin. At the time, this girl I was friends with started expressing interest in me, inviting herself over, asking if she could sleep in my bed with me, etc. I wasn't particularly attracted to her, but as previously stated, I was still a virgin, so I figured, F it, why not? Things moved pretty quickly from there, and long story short, I ended up tied up in rope bondage with her dripping hot wax from a lit candle onto my chest. Story 9. I tried that once on a long drive to Colorado to see this girl I had met on a previous trip there a month earlier, whom I was very much looking forward to effing. It was dark and I was bored, but I didn't finish. I eventually stopped for a nap at a rest stop, but when I woke up, I was still horny. So I spent the job in the parking lot. Unfortunately, I was right next to a dumpster, and I figured that aside from being super classy, nobody was going to park next to the dumpster. I shit you not, as soon as I'd finished, I heard a man screaming, "You effer, I caught you." I swear my soul left my body, and I rushed to put my unit away. Suddenly, a truck pulled up, and 3 guys were shouting outside my car. I was like, oh my effing God, I'm going to be put on a list or something. It took me a minute to realize they were yelling at each other. It turns out the guy in the truck was constantly dumping shit in the dumpster, and the two other guys were maintenance staff who had been trying to catch him. None of them noticed what I did and ignored me as I left. I've nearly died before, yet that was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. Story 10. When I was young and first discovered masturbation, I did it weirdly. Instead of using lube, I straight up rubbed my penis with Kleenex. It functioned the same and made cleanup easier. Anyway, I was sleeping over at a friend's house and his family was well off. So I went into the bathroom to pee in the night, sneezed, and discovered these rich folks had the softest, most effable Kleenexes an 11-year-old could ask for. I just had to. But I also didn't want to get caught, so I tried blocking the door with my foot while I was at the sink. My foot was not positioned as well as I thought. It was more beside the door than holding it shut. So instead of keeping it closed, his grandma unexpectedly tried to use the washroom. I was sitting directly across from the entrance. Pantless, hard penis in hand, one foot on either side of the door, she was now walking through. She saw. She just went, "Oh, and she left. I did not finish. I just went back to sleep and left ASAP the following day. Story 11. I dated this quiet, crazy girl a while ago. Not crazy, but she was something else in the sheets. This one time, I was invited to this opera concert thing, a very fancy night, and so I asked her to come with me. We got a private balcony space for ourselves with a fantastic view. Mid-concert, we started to F around a little bit. Handjob, fingering, blowjob, touching, etc. Then we got so horny that we F'd for real. And so we tried to synchronize her cheeks clapping and moaning to the instruments in the rhythm of the music. That didn't work. We got kicked out and banned for 2 years from the place. Called the police on us, got fined, etc. LOL, it was fun though, but it's an asshole thing to do. It sucked for the artists. I sometimes cringe when I think about it. Story 12. I was probably 14-ish, and as many boys that age would experience random erections. So I would sit in the booth and turn the slides during the hymns. Well, this one fateful day, I had a hard-on that wouldn't go away, and there was a break in the music, so I decided to take care of my situation. As I was doing so, one of the deacons opened the door behind me to deliver communion. He had the blood of Christ in one hand and the body in the other. I had something in my hand, too. He left as fast as he could, as did my erection. Story 13. I used to get a massage a week from this tall Russian broad. Perfect looking, super flirty, had a thick accent, the whole 9 yards. One day, she's laying it on thick, and I'm doing my best to keep the little drummer boy at bay. She finishes, hands me a towel to wipe the oil off, and leaves. I lay the towel out and then beat my meat as if it owes me money. I finished and then put that towel at the bottom of the garbage pile in the room. Immediate post-nut clarity had me thinking about cameras in the rooms. I did a quick scan, checked a few weird statues, and then said, F it. What's done is done. I left, never heard anything of it, and continued to get massages for about a year before insurance stopped paying for them.